years, so 2 years without a president, because there's been this deadlock between pro and anti-Hezbollah blocs. To learn more about this new president, Dr. Makram Rabah joins us from Beirut. Now, Doctor, hello.
Good evening.
Now, you're an associate professor of history with the American University of Beirut, also the author of the book Conflict on Mount Lebanon, the Druze, the Maronites and the Collective Memory. So tell us a little bit about this new president, Joesph Aoun. What do we know about him?
Well, particularly Joesph Aoun, as you mentioned, is a career soldier, and most importantly, he is not smeared by corruption, and he has very skillfully navigated this so-called jungle of these very corrupt politicians who have been trying to delay the election of a president. As you are well aware, we have been without a president for the last 2 years, and the Speaker of Parliament has been monopolizing power illegitimately. So the election of a president now is very important, especially after the cessation of hostilities between Hezbollah and Israel, because we have the major challenge of the reconstruction of the south of Lebanon, but more importantly, as you are well aware, that we have an economic problem, and for us to regain our normalcy, we should have someone leading this ship. So the election of Joesph Aoun is a step in the right direction. Many people are overly optimistic, but even if he does not deliver on all of these points, at least we have a fighting chance to regain our status vis-a-vis the Gulf and Arab world, and more importantly, the international community.
He certainly has a big job ahead of him. As you said, there's the rebuilding of the country following the recent bombings, but also, of course, the economy needs dealing with. Let's talk about Hezbollah for a moment here. We know Hezbollah's in a weakened state at the moment, and perhaps that's how we've got to the point where a president was able to be appointed. But does General Aoun have any sort of attitude when it comes to Hezbollah rebuilding in the future?
Well, it is clear from his inauguration speech that he has made it clear, first of all, to not to mention any sort of a phrase or a reference to the idea of resistance, because as you know, resistance here means Hezbollah. And on the contrary, he has underscored the fact that the only side that should monopolize power and weapons should be the Lebanese state and the Lebanese army. So in a way, he is reminding everyone, particularly Hezbollah, that his main job, or the job of the state, is to regain sovereignty, and more importantly is to implement the UN Security Council Resolution 1701, which clearly says that the Lebanese state, with the help of the international community, will disarm Hezbollah, which has proved to be an Iranian militia, and all their claim that they are able and willing to defend Lebanon were debunked during the last war.
Right. And now what do you think the priorities are going to be of this new president?
Well, I think the first step we should do is to basically pick a good prime minister. We are heading towards parliamentary consultations. He has to form a very legitimate and a very capable cabinet, because the problem is that over the years, the Lebanese have relied on a Superman, someone who would come in and save the day. This doesn't work like this. You can have a strong president, but a weak republic, but having a legitimate constitution and abiding by the laws and accountability, and more importantly, like President Aoun mentioned today, basically restructuring and empowering the Lebanese judiciary would allow him to basically regain the confidence of the people, and more importantly, the confidence of the international community, which are much needed now if we are to get grants, funds, or loans on the long run.
Yes, let's talk about the international community. General Aoun is widely seen as the preferred candidate of the US and Saudi Arabia. How important is that?
Well, it's very important, because international influence now was on the side of the people rather on the side of political establishment. First of all, as you know, the Lebanese army has a direct relationship with the US army. So in this sense, he's tested in this respect. More importantly, Saudi Arabia, which will play a very important role, has said that they prefer Aoun, which means that they're willing to put money behind this guy. So down the road, Saudi Arabia, which has been absent for the last 4 or 5 years from Lebanon, have decided to come back with the election of Joesph Aoun. All of these factors and indicators say that the election of Aoun should be a joyous occasion. Yet at the same time, we should be very much aware of the fact that the Lebanese political establishment will try to play possum and wait for the right moment to try to obstruct and particularly paralyze Aoun or any other person who is committed to reforms.
And will there be funding to rebuild Lebanon tied at all to Aoun's appointment?
Well, there will be funding, but this funding will come to the Lebanese state. Over the last couple of weeks, we've seen that Speaker Berri was trying to basically get a commitment from the international community that money will come to his person or to the institutions that he actually has influence over. But more importantly, I think the international community has made it clear that any money that would come to Lebanon will come through the IMF and through the World Bank only after structural reforms are implemented. And this is actually something that is actually good. So when you have KPIs, when you have clear objectives, then you will get the reward, financial rewards. But I think we don't have a problem, as you are well aware, that we have a huge Lebanese diaspora and people will invest in Lebanon, but no one is willing to basically fill a bucket which has time and again been punctured by the Lebanese political establishment and by the people who have failed to hold these politicians accountable, either through voting or through judicial measures.
It's been great to hear your thoughts on this, Doctor. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.